You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The center market in the transfer portal has gotten way out of hand. We learned a lot in Mike Waters' article about Syracuse's NIL trouble and their portal failures from last offseason. And one of the things that we learned in that article was Eddie Lampkin's NIL salary. Per his sources, it's $850,000. That's a lot of money. $850,000 for Eddie Lampkin. What if I told you that considering the center market, $850,000 for Eddie Lampkin was actually pretty decent value, even at the time that they got him? Because the market for centers has gotten way out of hand. There was a player, I believe, by the name of Moussa Cisse that Syracuse had checked in on, and his asking price was over $1 million. According to this article, Moussa Cisse is a center that averages 6 points and 6 rebounds per game for his career, and he's asking for over $1 million. We also learned in the article from Mike Waters, Frank Anselem's NIL deal with Louisville. Frank Anselem is making $300,000, and he is Louisville's third string center. Frank Anselem actually played for Syracuse, I believe, for a couple of years. He has been in college basketball for 5 seasons now total. That includes this one. His career high in points per game is 2.9, set with Georgia in 2023. Even for a program like Louisville, who has deep pockets, a lot of NIL money to spend, $300,000 on a third string center and Frank Anselem, that's called lighting money on fire. That's lighting money on fire. That's like you are the Joker in Batman and you have this pyramid of money and you are putting gasoline on it and lighting it. That's what you are doing. That is insanity. Absolute insanity. And it leads me to this. If the market is pretty similar for centers to what it was a year ago, I think we all need to rethink our strategy with centers in the transfer portal. And we have to ask ourselves a very important question. Do centers provide a positive return on investment in the transfer portal? Meaning that you are going to pay X amount for this transfer and he is going to deliver a positive result for you rather than a negative result. He is going to provide the value that you are looking for when you are paying said player. And here's my thought on this. The elite centers in the portal, unless they bust, unless they flame out, they are going to provide that return on investment because you know why? They're elite. And they are also highly sought after. They are highly valuable. Centers are very valuable in college basketball for a reason. That's why they have such a crazy asking price. The elite ones are going to provide return on your investment unless, of course, they completely bust or flame out. It's possible that could happen, but you got to take your chances with an elite player. The middle tier centers, not really. Eddie Lampkin kind of falls in that boat of a middle tier center transfer portal edition a year ago. He's worth $850,000 according to the market. That's crazy. That's insane. That the fact that that's pretty decent value for where he is in the transfer portal and the position that he plays, $850,000. And the bottom tier centers are the absolute worst. They are the worst return on investment. $300,000 on a backup center or a third string center, absolutely ridiculous. Now, obviously, not every single depth center is going to be asking for that. But even if they're all asking for a third less, even if they're asking for 100,000, that seems like too much. It just does. Think about it. Frank Anselem cost $300,000. Malik Mack at Georgetown, according to Mike Waters' article, went there for $400,000. And he's an above average guard. You're getting a much better return on investment with Malik Mack than you are with Frank Anselem. I'm telling you right now. And all it cost was an additional $100,000. That's it. It leads me to this. Look, Syracuse basketball, in all likelihood, is going to be in the market for a center this offseason. And why do you say it? Why do I know this? Because, well, Eddie Lampkin and Naheem McLeod are out of eligibility. So the Orange, logically, are probably going to check out the center market, right? Here's my idea. And it might be a little crazy. I know. But here's my idea. Number one, pursue an elite level center because those guys are elite. And yeah, you're going to pay a high price for them, but guess what? They're going to provide a pretty hefty return for you as well. There's a reason why they're elite. There's a reason why they're highly sought after. Those are the guys that can be all conference. Those are the guys that can go 16-10 for a year and provide outstanding rim protection. Imagine if Syracuse basketball in the portal this offseason got Eddie Lampkin, except he can also play defense. That's the type of center that we're talking about, an elite level guy, a game-changing type center. Maybe it's a center like Maxime Renaud from Stanford that can shoot the three ball at a relatively decent level. Actually, if he was in the transfer portal for a little bit before Stanford was able to retain him. I would have loved if Syracuse basketball got him, but I don't believe they were even sniffing the market for him because he was probably going for too much. I think North Carolina was involved on him, if I recall that correctly. So if you pursue an elite level center and you don't get one because there's other schools out there that might pay that guy more, don't bother with one. That sounds nuts, right? Don't bother with the center? Really? That's crazy. How can you do that? As I adjust myself here for a moment, but that sounds nuts. But hear me out. Instead of loading up on a center, you get more quality wings and you get more quality guards because Syracuse basketball does not have a war chest of NIL money to play with. And once you get to the middle tier of centers, they are not really going to provide a positive return on investment. They're just not. It's bad business at that point. Now, if you had a bazillion dollars to spend, go after a middle tier center if you strike out on the elite ones, because you know what? Who cares? Who cares, right? But that's just not the way we're operating. Or at least it was last season. The center position is really the exception to the rule that we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, getting quality players over a quantity of players. Because I'm basically saying it's better to get two guys for $400,000 than one $800,000 center. Except it's not really an exception to the rule. And let me tell you why. Because those players are better at their respective positions than that center is at his respective position. I think Malik Mack is a better guard than Eddie Lampkin is as a center. And even if you want to try to claim that it's relatively close, even if you want to give even a slight edge to Eddie Lampkin, well, Malik Mack costs half the price. Half. Because the center market has gotten way out of hand. And you can get better players than just one center. Except, of course, if you get an elite level center. That I am totally okay with. So yeah, if Syracuse decides to do that and not chase a center, well, they're going to have to play the season with small ball. But think of it this way. In 2024, when Naheem McLeod went down with injury halfway through the year, Malik Brown became the center and Justin Taylor became the power forward. And guess what? Syracuse basketball still managed to win 20 games that we all like to talk about. And they even pulled off an upset against North Carolina. They featured Armando Bacot, one of the best centers in the country. And this season, they have Eddie Lampkin, who's a capable big man in the ACC, and the team stinks. I'm not saying that the team stinks because of Eddie Lampkin. It's not really his fault. He has his faults, but he's not. If you go through the whole list of reasons why this season has failed, I don't even think he cracks the top 5. But the center position in the transfer portal is just ridiculous in the amount of money that these guys are getting. And unless you can get an elite level center, they are just not worth it based on what they can provide on the court. I would love to hear from you and your thoughts on the center market in the